Right, ladies and gentlemen, if you could start making your way to your seats, please. We have the next speaker coming up. A very exciting business here for you to listen to. A very important fact as well. Right, we got the. All right, so you've got a clicker. Oh, you. All right, see, yeah. So if you stand around there. Who's Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I have the great pleasure of introducing Dr. Samir Damani from Minthealth. Let me hand you over.
Great. Thank you. So today, I'm going to talk to you about how blockchain technology and in particular token incentives are going to be able to align stakeholders in a new healthcare ecosystem. A little background, because many of you may not be familiar with the healthcare environment. Historically, the stakeholders have been misaligned. If you think about a payer, who is the insurance company who is paying for care, you think about the patient, you think about the doctor. If a payer wins, a lot of times, the patient's losing. Similarly, if a provider wins because they're doing a procedure, historically, we haven't really necessarily incentivized the provider or the doctor to do what's in the best interest. Even though they're doing what they think is right, putting a stent in isn't necessarily going to prolong life or reduce cost, right? And so there's just been this misalignment, and there's an opportunity now with blockchain technology to actually align those stakeholders, and so that's what we're going to be talking about today. So a little bit of background. Minthealth, which is a company that I'm founding and speaking about today, is essentially a platform that's bringing together existing intellectual property experience and layering on blockchain technology. And so I founded another company called MD Revolution in 2012, which to date we've engaged about 30,000 patients across the country. And it's essentially a clinical tool that's used by physicians to engage patients with multiple chronic conditions. We've raised about $43 million to date. We've got investors such as Medtronic and other notable companies that have been early investors in that technology. We're bringing that to Minthealth as well. My partner, my co-founder, has a medical imaging platform that serves approximately 400 facilities nationwide. And they have IP that basically takes medical imaging from the essential Blockbuster to Netflix model. So they're able to take imaging, MRIs, X-rays, which have traditionally been housed in servers in health systems, and put it in the cloud and allow it to be streamed in near instantaneous fashion to a web-like Chrome browser at diagnostic quality. So a patient in one ER can basically, using an app, be able to show the ER doc their MRI, their X-ray in real time on their app. And then we're going to be layering on the blockchain technology to allow for data liquidity, taking a similar concept where we're able to take the image and stream it in real time and now do that for all health record data. So why is this important? This slide really talks to the fact that we're in a global crisis right now for healthcare. Out of the 56 million deaths that occurred in 2012, 40 million were from chronic diseases. And these are preventable diseases. So if you think about heart disease, diabetes, stroke, 80% of those particular conditions are preventable when you look at the CDC and the World Health Organization statistics, and about 40% of all cancers. So you're talking about risk factors such as sedentary behaviors, obesity, tobacco use, alcohol use, and poor nutrition that generates almost all the chronic disease and deaths that we are experiencing today. And then you combine that with the global aging of the population. In the U.S. alone, we have over 3.5 million people turning 65 every year. We're going to have over 100 million people over the age of 65 in the next 5 years. How are we going to care for these patients? They all have chronic disease. Over 90% actually have chronic conditions. And then you take the expanding middle class. In India alone, 300 million people have prediabetes. So you're talking about a escalating pandemic that we really have no answer for. Typical medicine has treated disease in a very communicable manner, meaning that you're treating a pneumonia. 300 million people died from smallpox in the 20th century. They're not dying from smallpox. They're dying from diseases that are behavior diseases today. So what blockchain allows patients to do is be more proactive. Allows them to have a self-sovereign health record and a global unique identifier. It allows for the seamless and secure transfer of clinical and behavioral data between patient-authorized stakeholders. And it allows for an incentive model through digital tokens that can reward positive and proactive behaviors. And we'll go into that in more detail. So we all know this. I'll skip through this. Depending on the audience, it may or may not be relevant. In this situation, what we're essentially doing is here's to your left is what typical health data is, right? It's housed in these legacy clunky software systems called electronic health records. And those are the middlemen. And what data really needs to be, especially medical data, it needs to be free-flowing. It needs to go from patient to doctor to ER to health system to hospital to administrative system seamlessly. And it can't do that because in the name of security, we've always said it has to be housed in these systems. But now what blockchain can do, and we'll talk about it, can elevate the data can now go to the actual cloud where it's encrypted at rest, and the permissions through smart contract can be added in real time, and now you have a global HIPAA log, so anybody that accesses data is clearly visible. Patients can then add people anytime they need to in real time. So it allows for that data liquidity, that right model to occur, and I'll have a little video that I'll play in just a few minutes for you guys to articulate exactly how it works in a real patient scenario. So here's where it is today. The reason why patients are not more proactive, one of the things I told MIT Tech Review, I said, if you think about the fintech industry, which has been or being transformed by blockchain, the interesting thing about that is that from a financial information standpoint, if I want to transact or transfer financial information from one person to another, I feel pretty confident in our current system we can do it. But now if you take that with health data, how many people in here actually feel like if right now in the next hour they needed to transmit health data to someone they loved or someone they needed to see it, how many actually feel like they could do that? No one. So when you think about the biggest industry that's going to be transformed, I don't like to use the word disrupt because I think transformation is a much more powerful concept for healthcare. Because fundamentally, some of the things that happen in healthcare, seeing acute sick people, that's going to continue to happen. But when it comes to chronic conditions, the ability to transfer and move data is central to the patient going from a more frustrated, passive state to a more proactive state. And so just keep that in mind, that healthcare is going to be transformed by blockchain technology, and we're in the early stages of that. So what we're able to do is we're able to go from the situation where Mary, and I'm going to show you a video, has her blood pressure data on a pad. I'm a cardiologist by training. I still see patients. I have a practice at Scripps, which is a $2 billion health system in San Diego. I see these patients. They have a pad. They write down their blood pressure. They have maybe their health kit data. Maybe they have their Fitbit data, steps data, all important information, MyFitnessPal they're logging. And then they have their medications in a vault called the EHR in the doctor's office, and their diagnoses here. They got their labs in another system. And they might be part of one system, but each doctor uses completely separate electronic health records. So the promise of personalized medicine has never been reached because we've got no real data sets, right, that are deep data sets that include both the contextual patient-generated information that we know we need to understand risks and the clinical data that is so important to understanding outcomes. So bringing that together in one place in a personal health record and then being able to add in real time permissions for doctors, caregivers, loved ones, friends, being able to share it in social media, all the things that people may want to do can't be done because there's never been a way to have a immutable ledger and a way in which smart contracts could allow people to access the data in real time without needing that central authority, okay? So I'm going to play a quick video that will illustrate exactly how this is going to work and what we're enabling at Minthealth here.
just, how do I get to?
At Minthealth, we believe it's crucial to give patients ownership and control over their healthcare data and empower them to set permissions of who can access what and when. Let's look at an example. Mary suffers from high blood pressure. She's on her way to see her primary care doctor for her annual checkup. At the doctor's office, Mary launches the Minthealth app and taps a button to share her health data with her doctor. Dr. Jones presents her with a QR code that identifies the public key for the Minthealth ID of his clinic. The Minthealth app uses the key to create an access control record with an Ethereum smart contract, providing the doctor with access to Mary's existing data. Dr. Jones' system recognizes that a data authorization is available and automatically uses his clinic's private key to provide cryptographic authentication to the storage retrieval service. Through an integration between Minthealth and his electronic health record system, Dr. Jones also enables sharing with Mary. With a scan of her QR code, Mary is able to access all of her clinical information in the Minthealth app and consolidate it within her individual secure cloud storage, which contains blood pressure and blood sugar data from her iHealth device and health information from apps like MyFitnessPal and HealthKit. Mary's health information then syncs with existing data, so it's available for her next visit. Months later, Mary experiences shortness of breath and high blood pressure that prompts a visit to her cardiologist, Dr. Smith. Through a smart contract on the blockchain, Mary adds permissions that allow Dr. Smith to instantly access her echocardiographic heart images and her home blood pressure readings from the Minthealth app. This eliminates the need for reordering diagnostic tests that have already been performed and enables informed decision-making that allows Dr. Smith to adjust Mary's blood pressure medicines from once a day to twice a day dosing, which minimizes her existing blood pressure spikes. Throughout the process of data sharing between providers, the blockchain serves as an immutable ledger, tracking permissions assigned through the app and serving as an audit trail to ensure that health records are being viewed appropriately. Additionally, the security of blockchain combined with encryption technology keeps Mary's data safe. To learn more, download the white paper at vitamins.com.
So while we bring up the slide again, so what you're seeing here is that now the patient's able to have their personal health record. We're not replacing electronic health records. Those are going to stay in place. But what we're giving is a self-sovereign record that patients can control, and the blockchain is an enabling factor for that.
Hello, thank you for joining me today. My name is Samir Damani, and I'm the CEO and founder of Minthealth. And I'll be telling you
I think
about
one of the other
a very
videos
exciting project that I'm
one of the other
working
video.
on around aligning the different stakeholders
There
in
you go.
a new healthcare ecosystem. This is highly relevant.
There we go. All right. So now the next piece is, all right, well, now that you have the technology that's enabling, how do you get patients to use it, right? How do you get doctors to use it? How do you get health systems to use it? Well, it just so happens with MD Revolution, my company, we've been engaging patients for the last 5 years. As I mentioned, we've engaged over 30,000 patients, and we have a technology that we've invested about $25 million into. And what we learned is that if you can incentivize the right behaviors, you can drive really good outcomes. So patients, for example, with heart failure, diabetes, obesity, but in particular, certain conditions that drive a lot of cost to the system. And what we found is that patients who have heart failure, just by stepping on a scale every day and reminding them to take their medications, you can drive better outcomes, right? And sharing data and creating social communities around patients. And so what vitamins are, that's the token that we're going to be generating and using to incentivize patients to not only create their self-sovereign identity, but to do the kinds of behaviors that reduce costs. So who are the purchasers of vitamins? These are anyone that takes on an at-risk population. They're self-insured companies. They are health plans. They are governments, right? And what these vitamins do is they essentially, as I mentioned, they incentivize healthy behaviors. They help establish the self-sovereign health identity, and then they power ecosystem redemption. So now you have Aetna, who's a big payer that just bought CVS. So Aetna starts to reward patients and vitamins for doing certain behaviors, whether you're stepping on a scale, logging your nutrition information. They're now getting reductions in their premiums. They are now getting the ability to use these vitamins for prescription copays, right? They are redeeming it on Whole Foods, right, for actual discounts on healthy meals. They're getting a ride through Uber to their doctor's office. And you can create an ecosystem redemption because this token is extremely powerful because it's global, right? It's transferable. And so that's where the vitamin token comes into play. But the other thing that's happening now is there's data sets. And I don't know if you guys saw the Apple announcement around healthcare, which to me is insane. I mean, who's going to trust Apple with all their healthcare data? You're just moving one silo to the next. Minthealth is not going to control this. This is controlled by the patient. So now that data, when Novartis or a pharma company wants to see across the world how patients are doing on certain drugs, they can actually say, hey, would you like to volunteer submitting your data? And the patients now can get paid for what historically we've never gotten paid to do, which is people are taking our data, de-identifying it and sharing it, benefiting it, building business models off of that, literally, right? And so what you're creating is a vitamin ecosystem that can then drive value to the actual token holders, right? Because at the end of the day, the token is going to be retaining the actual ROI generated by cost savings. And if you look at the one industry that's going up every year over year for the last 40 years, and it's going to continue to do, it's healthcare. We're growing at 5% per year, 2% faster than GDP in this country, and that's across the world. So having a healthcare token makes a lot of sense. And there'll probably be many, but we feel like our system and our platform that we're describing here and the IP we're bringing to the table puts us in a pole position. So from a strategy perspective, I think I mentioned to you, our focus is, not only picking the apples and working with local regional insurance companies and self-insured companies, but it's also shaking the tree, looking at distribution partners. So we're talking to companies like Minthealth out of Denver. We're talking to Higgy. These are companies that have kiosks in actual pharmacies and that are collecting data, but they can't do anything with the data, right? They can't enable better outcomes. And so we're looking at enabling distribution partners. And at the end of the day, our app is more of an enabler of an existing app. We're not trying to compete with everyone out there that's already managing populations. We're trying to token enable the system, and we're trying to help them create this portable health record that we talked about earlier through a SaaS model. And here's just some screenshots. You can see kind of the records on the left there. You can see how the QR code is there, and a lot of this you saw in the actual video. You can see your vitamin balance. You can see where you got the redemption. You can see kind of different training modules that patients can take depending on your condition and how you will earn vitamins. You can see how there's a social community that's being built around the actual healthy activity of behavior, how patients can share food information with a health coach. You can see blood pressure trends and how bots can kind of track and identify trends that are dangerous ahead of time. Here's an increasing blood pressure graph right here in a patient. And you can see that on the right, a health coach was able to send a message to that patient saying, hey, are you taking your medication? Foundational partners, we talked about this. Nucleus Health has a patented streaming technology which allows us to stream medical images because that's a key thing. These are huge files. And remember, we're not storing data in the blockchain. We're storing data in the cloud, but it's encrypted. We're using the blockchain for the permissioning. So the ability to actually stream real echocardiographic or MRIs is a very unique feature. And so we have IP around that, and we have an exclusive license. And then MDR is a company I founded, and again, we're bringing licensing technology around patient engagement. Our executive team and board is right here. You see me at the top. My co-founder, Vish Verma, is there. Gene Bagrowski on the bottom left has been a CIO of health systems for 30 plus years. T. Green actually founded a company called Greenway Health. That's the third largest electronic health record company in the country. They do about $600 million in revenue. He's on our board. And then we've got a number of notable advisors, both from the blockchain, on the blockchain technology side, but also on the industry side from healthcare too, including Novartis, Harvard Connected Health, and then we've got some notable names that you guys probably know on the advisor side. So in summary, we're a decentralized health platform that is aligning stakeholders in a new ecosystem around patient empowerment. We are, we have data that we've been able to show that improves clinical outcomes, and the idea is to be able to lower the spiraling cost of healthcare through the models that we talked about. We are raising $30 million through a Minthealth security token. We're going to be one of the first security tokens offered right now through Reg D placement, and the Minthealth security token holders will be receiving a dividend based on vitamin sales. And also, they'll be receiving equity in Minthealth as well. So for more information, visit minthealth.com or IO. And if you have any questions, I'll take questions now. Yeah, hi. Yeah, you know, I think so the problem, so I'll answer that in a roundabout way. So the major problem that is facing when you look at the people that are responsible for paying for healthcare, right? Most of them are struggling with patients with multiple chronic conditions, right? And so they're trying to figure out, how do I reduce the cost over years to the system? And while dermatologic problems and some of those are important, from that perspective, the payers aren't worried because the cost drivers of derm issues are not as big. Now, having said that, data is data, right? And so when you have your personal health record, you're going to be able to put anything in it. So whether it's your, you know, whether it's your lesion, your squamous cell carcinoma that you had removed, or acne that's being treated, medication data, all that stuff can go to the cloud just like in any other situation. It's just basically an integration that you pull from the EHR directly into the cloud. And typically, when you integrate within the electronic health record for a health system, you're pulling all the data, not just chronic disease data. You're pulling their cardiac data, you're pulling their derm data, you're pulling any other elective procedures they may have had, their gallbladders out. All that information is going there, and that basically is your complete view of your health profile, plus all your data from your, you know, MyFitnessPal, your step counts, anything else that you want to put in it. Does that answer your question? We're literally kicking it off right now. We're getting the final PPM documents done.
Okay, and discounts on pre-sale?
Yes, we are offering discounts. It's 50% for the first 5 million.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So is there like a certain amount of coins that is going to be like made initially, and then you can create more? Or are you limiting it at a certain amount? And is your coin going to be built on the Ethereum
Yes.
network? You're going to be using that network?
Yes, it's the Vitamint and the Minthealth security token will be an ERC-20 compliant token. Vitamins, we are going to produce as many as we need. Those are going to be sold on the website. Will be administered through the blockchain, right? So, for example, if you're Aetna and you go and buy $10 million worth of vitamins, they're 10 cents, right? They're like Sky Miles, right? You can go and buy Delta Sky Miles. There's probably going to be secondary markets that come up. But the idea with the vitamins is that, you know, we want to provide however many we need to, right? Then the Minthealth security token, there's only going to be a fixed amount of those, right? There's going to be, you know, we're doing 30 million of those. We have 100 million total. We're doing 30 million in the actual pre-sale. And so the idea is that those will be fixed, and they receive a dividend from vitamin sales, which are all tracked in the blockchain. And, you know, again, there'll be discounts for the pre-sale. And we're exploring, you know, options around making sure that we're able to, you know, partner with some of these secure exchanges that are popping up right now. So we're looking at ways to get it freely tradable, and, you know, we can speak more about that at a later time. Yes.
So, you know, as you mentioned, one of the problems in healthcare is data sharing. Health information exchanges really solve that at all that it's supposed to. And so now, you know, you have your platform, which I think is really nice. You have Simply Vital, which is a blockchain health platform. You have Pocket Doc that has theirs. And you see data sharing, similar data sharing problem as, you know, these kind of infrastructures arise.
Oh, I see.
Vendors and
Yeah.
tokens changes, and, you know, how do you integrate that?
Yeah, so I think if you look at the healthcare ecosystem and blockchain, you know, what we're talking about is value-based care. There's many segments where blockchain, so for example, Pocket Doc is mainly focused around the claims management system. It's really executing a current system, not fixing the broken system, right? So what we're a platform for value-based care where we're driving value in terms of cost reductions to the coin, right? Simply Vital, yeah, they're probably simply, you know, they're probably somewhat similar. I don't know in detail, but no, I don't see that as a issue, because remember, I mean, everybody in the world, there's 6 billion people on this planet, right? They're all going to need some form of of storage for their health records. So we're not going to be the only company here, and there's going to be many winners in this space. I think where we're different is if you look at our team and the fact we're bringing existing IP to the table, where we've put almost 50, 60 million in our IP. So to go out there and actually say I can engage patients, to go out there and say I'm going to create a personal health record, you got to say, okay, have you done that before, right? And we have, right? We've created data imaging sharing models, which are basically the same thing as health data, maybe more complex, for 400 facilities and 2,400 hospitals nationwide, and we've engaged over 30,000 patients. We've got ROI data. So I think there's going to be many ways in which these companies create personal storage, and they'll talk to each other. You know, it's all about permissioning, right, at the end of the day. So I don't see that as a problem. Hmm? Right, so we are literally, as I mentioned, we're just kicking off the pre-sale. So we've self-funded it, and we've got some people that we've small amount of money that we've raised just to kind of get things going as seed. But we're very early. We are taking LPs, additional LPs, and we're talking to a number of folks for that. You know, right now we're open. We're open to exploring options. I think there's strategic partners we're talking to are very strategic, and then those are just really check writers. So I think, you know, it just depends. I think, you know, we're open if there's a strategic partner who is bringing a customer, you know, an insurance company, you know, that's one thing. But, you know, again, we're totally open and happy to chat about that, you know, afterwards. Our burns, you know, we can chat. It's very small. I mean, it's in the tens of thousands. About 15. Hmm? Okay. Anybody else? Yeah, I mean, the HIPAA is the big one, HIPAA compliance, and the beauty of the blockchain is that it's actually fundamentally a global HIPAA log. So it's all open source, it's immutable, it's a ledger, so it's beautiful from a compliance standpoint. In fact, my partner companies, Nucleus Health, took the technology, and we actually entered a blockchain competition sponsored by the Office of National Coordinator of Health Information Technology and placed second in that. So even HHS is that Health and Human Services have actually had blockchain hackathons, right? And so we've entered those, yeah. So from a compliance perspective, this is actually fully compliant. Mm-hmm. No. We're actually storing, you know, data and medical images on the cloud right now, Nucleus Health, right? And we have a prototype that allows the data to move from different entities onto web like Chrome browsers to an app. So that's happening today. So your question around blockchain was just, you know, it allows for the permissioning, right? Because otherwise you can't, due to HIPAA compliance, you'd have to have a central authority that gives the permissions to access that data in the cloud, right? So blockchain removes that central authority. You don't need it anymore. No. The cloud, the data. So I see where you're getting confused. Your personal records are going to stay on the cloud. Okay, so the blockchain just enables the liquidity of that data so that if you're in an ER and you need that doctor to see it, you can add a permission to the smart contract that allows them to see it, right? So each person in here would have their own personal storage, right, which is yours. So if Minthealth goes away, your personal storage still has your data. It's in the cloud, but it's encrypted. It's encrypted at rest. It's encrypted in transit, and that's HIPAA compliance. But ultimately, it's that data that you want to be able to move from place to place. If you wanted to send someone your data right now, you could do that. And the only way you could do it without a central authority is using the blockchain. Okay? All right. Thank you, everyone.
Excellent. Fantastic. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have another 10-minute break. So if you want coffees, you want to go to restrooms, and then afterwards, I will be speaking about my business, job.com, and how blockchain will be changing the way all of you either hire or get hired. So please join us for that, and I'd love to tell you about it.